This is the #1 mistake drivers make when jumping a dead battery, and it sends over 2,000 people to the emergency room every single year with exploded batteries, acid burns, and permanent eye damage. 2,280 people. That is the number the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates end up in United States emergency rooms each year from car battery explosions alone, and the injury breakdown is ugly. 72% of those people suffered eye injuries. 62% walked out with chemical burns from sulfuric acid. 43% of the cases were classified as serious, meaning the patient still needed medical treatment after the emergency room visit ended. And nearly every one of those explosions traces back to a single mistake that takes 2 seconds to fix. Let me show you what is happening inside your battery that turns it into a bomb. Every time you pop the hood to jump a dead battery, you are stepping into a danger zone most drivers never see coming. The numbers are not small. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 2,280 people in the U.S. land in emergency rooms every year because a car battery exploded. That is not just a bump or a scare. 72% of those people suffered eye injuries. 62% left with chemical burns from battery acid. For 1 out of every 8, the damage was so severe they needed surgery or long-term care. The acid inside a typical car battery is about 37% sulfuric acid, with a pH under 1, far more corrosive than anything you would find under your kitchen sink. When a battery explodes, that acid sprays outward in every direction. It can burn through clothing, scar skin, and if it hits your eyes, it can cause permanent blindness in seconds. Dr. Joshua Solano, an emergency physician, puts it bluntly. We see people come in with deep burns and vision loss from battery explosions every year. It only takes one mistake. The cost does not stop at the hospital doors. The average emergency room visit for a battery injury runs over $1,200, and that is before you count lost wages or follow-up surgery. All of it, from the emergency room to the operating room, often starts with a single spark and a 2-second shortcut. Most drivers never realize how easy it is to avoid. Every time you charge or jump a car battery, hydrogen gas is forming right under the hood. This is not some rare accident. It is built into the chemistry. When a lead-acid battery charges, water inside splits into hydrogen and oxygen. Most of the time, the gas just vents out and drifts away. But hydrogen is the lightest element in the universe. It rises fast, but under a closed hood or in a garage, it can build up in pockets you would never notice. Here is what makes it so dangerous. Hydrogen does not need much to ignite. The flammability window is massive. If hydrogen makes up just 4.1% of the air, a single spark can set it off, and it stays explosive all the way up to 74.2%. That is a wider danger zone than almost any fuel you will find in a car. Now, add what happens when the battery is overcharged, even by a tiny amount. Just 0.2 volts over the normal level can push hydrogen production up by a factor of 10. That means a battery that has been on a charger too long, or one that was frozen and then thawed, can fill the engine bay with invisible, flammable gas in just a few minutes. You cannot see it, you cannot smell it, but it is waiting for a spark, often the one you create when you make the final jumper cable connection. That is why the advice from every safety agency is so specific about where you put that last black clamp. It is not about being picky, it is about keeping that inevitable spark as far from the gas as possible. Almost every driver makes the same snap decision when jump-starting a dead battery. You clamp the last black cable right onto the negative post of the dead battery. It feels natural. It looks like the shortest path, and it is what you have probably seen 100 times. But that final step is the trigger, because the instant you complete the circuit, a spark jumps from the clamp to the battery terminal. You cannot see it coming, but that spark is guaranteed. It is not a maybe. It is physics. The moment metal touches metal, even for a split second, the electrical circuit closes and a tiny arc leaps through the air. That arc happens just inches from the battery vent caps, exactly where invisible hydrogen gas has been collecting. If the mix is right, just 4% hydrogen in the air, which is common under the hood, a single spark is all it takes to ignite it. The battery's polypropylene shell can split open like a grenade, sending shards and concentrated sulfuric acid in every direction. This 2-second shortcut is the root of thousands of emergency room visits every year. If you have ever finished a jump start this way, you are not alone. But this is the moment that turns a routine fix into a disaster. There is one rule that every major safety agency, car manufacturer, and battery expert agrees on. The final black clamp never goes on the dead battery. Instead, connect it to a solid, unpainted metal part of the engine or chassis, well away from the battery. This single step moves that guaranteed spark far from the pocket of hydrogen gas that is built up around the battery. Les McMaster, president of the Motor Industry Workshop Association, puts it simply: improper jump starting is the leading cause of workshop floor battery fires. Strict adherence to isolated circuit protocols eliminates the risk. AAA, Consumer Reports, Interstate Batteries, Optima, Edmunds, and Kelley Blue Book all echo the same guidance. The reason is pure physics. When you ground the last cable to the engine block, you send any spark away from the battery's vent caps, where invisible hydrogen is most likely to collect. It takes 2 seconds and does not require any extra tools or training. This is not just a best practice. It is the industry standard, printed in owner's manuals and safety bulletins everywhere. If you remember nothing else, remember this: the last black cable always goes to the engine, not the battery. That is the move that keeps you out of the emergency room. Before you even touch a jumper cable, grab a pair of safety glasses. Eye protection is non-negotiable. Acid spray can blind you in seconds. Next, check both batteries for cracks, bulges, leaks, or a rotten egg smell. If you see or smell anything off, do not jump the car. A damaged or frozen battery is a ticking bomb. Set the vehicles close enough for the cables to reach, but never let them touch. Both cars should be in park or neutral, with parking brakes engaged and all accessories off. No lights, no radio, and no phone charging. Here is the sequence every pro follows. First, connect the red positive clamp to the positive terminal of the good battery. Second, attach the other red positive clamp to the positive terminal of the dead battery. Third, connect the black negative clamp to the negative terminal of the good battery. Last, and most important, clamp the remaining black cable to a solid, unpainted metal part of the engine block or chassis on the dead car, far from the battery itself. That keeps the spark away from hydrogen gas. To disconnect, reverse the order. Start with the engine ground clamp, then the negative on the good battery, then both positive clamps. Never rush, and never let clamps touch each other. This routine is the difference between a safe jump start and a trip to the emergency room. The danger doesn't end with acid and explosions. Every jump start pushes hundreds of amps, anywhere from 150 to 450, through those cables in a single surge. If you're using skinny, bargain bin jumper cables, the insulation can melt in seconds, turning them into live wires hot enough to burn your hands or start a fire under the hood. That's why the pros insist on at least 4-gauge cables. And for trucks or cold weather, 2-gauge or even 0-gauge is better. Danger. But the risk isn't just fire. A single spark or a reversed connection can send a voltage spike straight through your car's brain, the ECU, the alternator, or even the airbag module. Repairing a fried ECU can run anywhere from $1,200 to $3,500. One hasty connection, and you're not just facing a dead battery. You could be looking at a dead car. Modern cars add a new layer of risk that most drivers never consider. If you are driving a hybrid or an electric vehicle, you should never use it as the donor car for a jump start. Kia, Tesla, BMW, and Toyota all warn against this in their manuals. The reason is simple. Their high-voltage systems are isolated from the regular 12-volt battery, and a surge from a jump start can damage sensitive electronics or even disable safety features. For many newer cars with the battery hidden in the trunk, look for a remote jump post under the hood, usually marked with a red cap. Always use these dedicated points instead of connecting directly to the battery. Ignoring these rules can fry the car's power management system or trigger a costly repair. When in doubt, check the owner's manual before reaching for the cables. Portable lithium jump starters have changed the game for everyday drivers. Instead of relying on another car, you get a compact pack that fits in your glove box and delivers up to 1,200 amps, enough to crank most engines, even in the dead of winter. These packs use built-in reverse polarity protection and anti-spark circuitry, so you can't accidentally fry your car's electronics or start a fire with a misplaced clamp. Prices range from $80 to $200, which is a fraction of what a single emergency room visit or ECU replacement can cost after a battery explosion. AAA reports over 32 million roadside calls a year, and dead batteries account for 14% of those calls. With most car batteries only lasting 3 to 5 years, odds are you will face the situation sooner than you think. The easiest way to remember the safe jumpstart rule is this: red to dead, black to block. Commit that to memory, and you will never be caught off guard. Every year, thousands of people land in the emergency room because a 2-second shortcut turned a routine jumpstart into shrapnel and acid burns. The fix is simple. Clamp the last black cable to bare metal, not the battery. Remember, your safety comes down to one connection. Protect yourself every single time.